Another regional, another breakdown, but this time, Tri-Brigade steps back into the light. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out more awesome content. We have the top 8 breakdown here for the Rosario regional. Now, this is a very, very interesting breakdown because we have 3 Mathmech decks stepping into the light here as the most represented deck. And I'm not going to lie to you, Mathmech, even though in a lot of YCSs, it hasn't had, well, I guess crazy turnover conversions. But on like the regional level, outside of, like Sprite and Tier kind of ending up being like these duking powerhouses here, it is interesting to see, other parts of the world that will take a look at Mathmech and just have this deck be this immense titan that ends up, destroying a lot of the competition. Circular is an amazing card, man. It really, really is. We also had one bird up list. Now, Tri-Brigade has not had a decent showing in a little while, all right? I just want to put that out there. Bird Up has effectively just been one of the quietest decks in the metagame. So when I saw this, I was like, wow, Tri-Brigade that's not involving, Sprite cards. It's been a very long time since we've seen something like that. And I think that's actually kind of amazing to see a little bit of difference there in terms of deck build. We also had one Eldlich Branded. Honestly, Eldlich in combination with that package has been probably the best turnover build for it. We also had one branded Despia. This deck is still essentially at full power. We have no real hits on it, and the way that the deck just functions right now, it's crazy. And then we had one Sprite Frog and then a Tearlaments Danger deck, which are your heavy hitters for the metagame here. But am I surprised by the results? Yeah, a wee little bit. This is some very interesting stuff overall. So we're going to pass on it over for the deck list. Actually, winning this regional was actually, the Danger Tearlaments deck. Are you really surprised when I say those words, that a deck like this ended up being your turnover here? Now, this build is actually crazy because we are citing 6 virus cards, 3 deck devs, and 3 Eradicator Epidemic viruses. If you really are worried about your Mystic Mind matchup, don't be. You are just going to wipe that out. All right, that to me is so amazing that you will get just such an advantage tree off of the resolution of that. I'll clap for it, man. Kudos for that. We're also main decking the Dark Lunomores and the Super Polys, so honestly, whatever the opponent would set up in terms of, potential board breaks and things that we really need to worry about, we don't really need to deal with it. We board break and we go. It seems very, very, very straightforward to me. Next up is our first Mathmech deck here, and we are playing the Archfiend Eccentric to bridge the gap. If you hard draw, it's still a Spell and Trap pop effectively, but yeah, you're playing it for the Small World package. We're main decking Double Crow, Double Effect Veiler, that's fine. 41 cards, I'm not really surprised about that, to say the least, either. We're also main decking one Skullmeister as well. More option trees is always going to be good. One super factorial, one equation is fine. I know we've seen some builds that try to get super cheeky and try to mess around with double super factorial, or we try to play the other support card that a lot of the decks have been using for a little while, but I don't see much of a reason to do that. I see we are also playing Firecracker in the side deck for time. You gotta love these time rolls, man. Some of the most obscure cards in current era Yu-Gi-Oh! Have been coming out of the woodwork just to be time cards. It's great, actually. Next up is another Mathmech list. Holy crap. So that ends up being 2 Mathmech decks that we saw on Top Gun. Now, the difference between this one and the other one is literally Pot of Desires versus Small World. A blank banish to filter draw 2 is good. I guess, banishing cards that you might not want to banish kind of is bad, but I overall think that that's not an issue. Like, either way, like, the draw versus, you know, the resource search, I guess it comes down to, like, your end goal at the end of the day, but I don't see an issue with exploring that option. Outside of that, I mean, rivalries, evenlies, one equation, one superfactorial. Everything else for this deck feels, once again, very standardized, all right? Like, Mathmech, you get a little bit of room for little tech choices like the Small World Engine or Pot of Desires. By the way, it ends up working out. Eldlich Branded here. So, straight off the bat, you are playing triple Aluber. Now, a lot of these builds that I've seen as of late don't actually try to get super crazy with Aluber. I understand that, you know, having an actual normal, someone that you can commit to the deck actually feels pretty good, alright? Like, but it's just that at the end of the day. We also have triple Extrav, which is fine, with triple Brand Fusion with the triple Super Poly. So we should be establishing some sort of huge board break here. We're also playing the Necworld Banshee to establish Zombie World. Do not underestimate the power of Zombie World. Like, that card will mess up players. I know a lot of players are like, well, you know, like, I can play around it. Not as much as you really want to think you can. All right, Zombie World might not be as powerful this format, but it's definitely got its applications within the competitive sphere of the metagame, so you really do love to see it. Next up here is our Bird Up list. Now, interestingly enough, we're not doing any Sprite combo. I know that, like, the Sprite build actually exists, and that people have tried to mess around with the ratios into this deck. It's an interesting combination of things that you can really mess around with, but I don't feel like it does enough. Now, I see that we are also playing the one Fabled Cerebral in here, just as a tuner to bring out off of the Rescue Cat, because that also facilitates speeding up the process to get to Herald. Alright, Herald is a pretty good card. Alright, walking, talking, macrocosmos-esque effects, and negates are pretty good. And of course, the Scareclaw Link 1 has been a pretty welcome addition to this deck. The fact that you just effectively now have a Link 1 that you can access that can make stepping stones a little bit easier for a deck like this, actually quite good. I also see that we're maining the triple Anti-Spell Fragrance as well. Honestly, cards like Anti-Spell are going to allow this deck to kind of bridge out over a lot of the competition and give them the chance to play the game, alright? Like, I understand Degenerate Floodgates are cards that people might not like seeing, but in a deck like Tri-Brigade, you need something that will get you the chance to play the game. And I'm sorry, but, like, you know, just having a set Revolt with a face-up Anti-Spell might not be enough to win you the game. Like, it's just kind of unfortunately like how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is gone now in terms of the evolution of the game. So, it's just that. Next up here is our Branded Despia list. We are actually playing Fairy Tale Snow. Holy moly. Alright. I see that we are doing the Edge Imp shenanigans. So this is pretty much very reminiscent of the very earliest builds that we saw this deck take on. Alright. Like, you're still going through a lot of the former motions that you saw in the past with this deck. So I honestly think that's a good thing. Honestly, the whole polymerization thing will probably just poly away. Guardian Chimera's protection effect is going to be pretty solid as well. I don't think a lot of people really give that card the credit it deserves. Outside of that, Garuda Fine Edition. I do like the there can only be ones in the main deck, because whatever board you end up making, you can flip TC Boo, and you're basically protecting your investment of that field that you just set up. Hey, if your opponent, you know, can board break you, unfortunately there's not really much you can do about it, but that's why your game plan is around the TC Boo. Last as we have here is actually our Sprite list. Okay, so we are doing enemy controller shenanigans in this deck, which we've seen in the past that enemy controller has just turned into an amazing card for a deck like this, man. Like, it has been absolutely fantastic. We also have Dark Ruler No Mores, Cosmic Cyclones, and Pointers. All the side deck stuff looks fine. You're pretty hand-trapped out of your mind for this deck. You got Triple Ash, the Double Bell, the Double Effect Veiler, the Double DD Crow, and of course the triple Imperm, triple Sprite Elf in this build. That's become a little bit more of a norm, I feel like, as of late as well. Just Elf is an amazing card. And then of course you see that we have Iria and Dahark as extra deck stepping stones, and the Underworld Goddess to out any real like problematic cards that might end up showing up that we kind of have to deal with. So overall, not a bad regional breakdown. You really do love to see like innovations. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful face back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.